Hey, you going, my friends? I hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. And yes, we're going to be talking about the ZV-E1 again, but this time it will be overheating. And yes, I know you guys have been waiting for this for a while, and there's been obviously, tests that I've already done and released in a couple of other videos, but this one is dedicated pretty much solely to overheating, testing it in a whole bunch of different scenarios, doing external recording. And we all know this thing overheats. Direct sunlight in the sun, really hot. It's Australia. Right now it's in summer, so it did overheat. 15 minutes was the maximum I got in direct sunlight, 33 degrees Celsius. But if you do external recording, you actually get longer time, and we're going to be discussing that, but we're also going to be discussing different temperatures, and there will be indoor tests and outdoor tests, but the indoor tests can actually be, I suppose, used as a reference for outdoors because it's not technically direct sunlight, but still the temperature is what you need to consider. So if you are shooting underneath an umbrella and you are, constantly recording, that can still be taken into consideration. But first of all, we have to have a disclaimer is that Sony did design this for vloggers, and vloggers most generally do not record constantly. They do bursts of 4K 50, even 4K 25 when it comes to regular vlogging. They do not constantly record for the whole time. And if you are vlogging, you're moving around, it can actually cool down because of wind and all those kind of things, different temperatures inside, outside. You have to consider that. So if you do want a professional camera that is reliable for constant recording and a video camera, look at the FX30, look at the FX3, or look at the FX6. They are designed specifically for video first. Even A7S III, that has the heatsink in it. It can manage the heat. It's got a bigger body. You have to consider that. Okay, so it's not a good start for the ZV-E1 because we're going to be talking about online streaming and essentially just connecting it to a computer if you want to do some Zoom calls, online streaming, all those kind of things. But the great thing about this one is that you're able to do 4K 25 frames per second, whereas I think it was the A7 IV and ZV-1, you could only do 15 frames per second in 4K, and that's not really that usable, is it? But this one gives you that 4K, and I actually set this situation up in my kitchen, 24 degrees Celsius with the aircon on. So this is regular room temperature, and I suppose if you're streaming in any temperature that's a lot higher, then you're pretty much a psycho. You're crazy. But that's pretty much 24 degrees is like your standard room temperature. It's nice and comfortable, which I think ends up being like 75 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that. So it's pretty standard temperature. This was with the battery in and essentially just plugging it into USB-C straight into your computer. And I got about 23 minutes, unfortunately, and then it overheated and shut off. So it couldn't even reach the 30 minutes of like a regular Zoom call. And for the next situation, what I decided to do was essentially just open the battery door. And I actually only got 25 minutes in total. So it was only an extra couple of minutes before it overheated in that 4K 25 frames per second with that streaming. And then I decided to go into my studio, and this day was about 22 degrees Celsius, and it didn't get really much better. It only got 28 minutes and then it overheated. And this was obviously with the battery inside. The battery door was just its regular, just shut. And if I did open the battery door, probably get a couple extra minutes, but I did expect it to go a little bit longer than just 28 minutes. So if you are streaming, I absolutely recommend just stick with 1080p, or this camera probably isn't your choice. Now, the next one was interesting because I actually recorded inside my garage, which actually was, let me have a look at it, 30.5 degrees Celsius, which is approximately 87 degrees Fahrenheit. And I decided to record internally to the Atomos Ninja 5. So I recorded 4K 25 frames per second. It was ProRes HQ as well. And I actually have to turn flexible ISO off because it cannot actually allow you to record in log footage directly into the Atomos Ninja 5. I'm not sure why. Maybe I need to go through the settings, but turn that off and then went into my picture profiles, just selected picture profile 6 and then change it to slog3 with gamut3.cine. And it's pretty much the same anyway. But in that situation, I got 56 minutes and then it's decided to overheat, which, is significantly more because it was actually way hotter but also got more time in that recording. And there's obviously no air moving in my garage as well. 30.5 degrees is actually quite uncomfortably hot. Then the last one was in my bedroom, and I decided to record there because if you don't put any fans or aircon, it's actually very hot in summer. It's 28 degrees Celsius in this room, and I did 4K 25 frames per second, the standard, and I got 36 minutes internally, and it overheated. And then I was like, okay, well, let's wait for 30 seconds and see what it does, and then start recording again. And then I started recording again, and then 2 to 3 minutes later, it just decided to overheat again. But if you actually wait 10 to 15 minutes, you can pretty much get the same amount of time again, which is really interesting. And all you have to do is just wait that little bit longer just for it to overheat, not even to room temperature. It's still, relatively hot to touch, but you still get extra time when it comes to that. Okay, now let's talk about the overheating when we do it outdoors. And this is where things get a little bit complicated. And the first one, yes, sure, it did overheat 15 minutes in direct sunlight, 33 degrees Celsius, which is 91.4 degrees Fahrenheit. So that is actually quite hot outside. And then I accidentally waited 15 minutes because I was, up here doing a whole bunch of work, and I went downstairs and it had overheated, quickly turned it back on and started recording again. And I had the FX6 recording this, so I know it was exactly 15 minutes or, 14 minutes and 50 something seconds. But by the time I actually pressed record again, and I actually got 20 minutes extra, which was really interesting. It actually went further than the first one. Maybe because the core temperature was up to scratch and then it was able to disperse the heat a little bit better. But still, I got 20 minutes outdoors. It was a little bit hotter, maybe 33.5 degrees Celsius outside. And I got a little bit more time. So all you have to do is wait 10 to 15 minutes and you can pretty much get the same amount of time, if not maybe a little bit more. But we all know that's obviously not acceptable for a lot of professional work. But like I said at the start, you have to consider that this isn't designed to be recorded constantly in direct sunlight like you're doing an interview. That's what the A7S III, that's what the FX3, FX30, FX6 were designed for, and that's why Sony have all these different cameras and different lineups where you can choose from. So I definitely would not choose this one over those if that's your kind of work. Now, the next one I actually just did the other day, and it was 35 degrees Celsius outside, which is 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And I mean, come on, that is pretty hot. And there's direct sunlight, but I actually recorded into the Atomos Ninja 5 just to see what I could do again. Same again, 4K 25 frames per second, ProRes HQ, and I actually got 31 minutes, and then it decided to overheat. So you're getting almost double the amount of time if you are recording into an external monitor, because the processing and the recording is not done internally, and the SD card starts to heat up. So that is really interesting. So if you do want to try and push the limits of this camera, you do have that option. If you do want to throw in the Atomos Ninja 5 on top and start recording internally into that, just have to remember the file sizes are actually quite large when you actually do that. But hey, so are these ones if you use all-eye internal codec as well. Now, the biggest reason why I didn't record in 4K 50 or 4K 60 is that I don't really feel the need that someone should be sitting the camera down and just letting it record at 4K 50, 4K 60, 4K 100. I don't understand that. They should pretty much be burst modes. Whereas 4K 25 or 4K 24, 4K 30, I can understand someone leaving this on a tripod, trying to get a wide shot or something and just letting it run. Or, a vlogger puts it down and just wants to do a talking head piece to the camera for 20 minutes or something. I can understand that. So that's the biggest reason why I didn't do the testing with 4K 50, 4K 60. I don't see it's necessary. And obviously it would overheat a lot faster because you're recording more data into the body. So there's a lot more processing going on. So it's going to be generating a lot more heat. So it just makes sense that, it will overheat faster. Now, here are some of Jared Undun's overheating tests, and he did get some significant results that are a little bit different to mine. So, take it or leave it with a grain of salt, because every situation is different, every climate is different, but I tried to do mine in a controlled environment as well as what he would have done. And, just use his information, use my information, and just try and form your own, I suppose, executive decision if this camera is suited towards you. So overall, I'm actually quite impressed with the overheating performance of this when it came to those different scenarios. Obviously, when it comes to direct sunlight and a really hot summer day, it is a little bit tough. Externally record is probably your only way out there, but not a lot of people have an external recorder like the Atomos Ninja 5. But this is the thing that you need to consider. And if you do want to do those long recording sessions, just this camera isn't for you. You're going to have to choose the Alpha 7S III, or even, the FX30, FX3, or FX6, those cinema cameras. That's the target market. This one is designed for vloggers, so you have to take that into massive consideration. It was designed for a specific purpose and for a specific type of person, but there is no reason why you couldn't use this for, professional videography. And I have used this for professional videography, and it's, done a really incredible job because it's got that A7S III sensor, FX3 sensor, FX6 sensor. It's just incredible. The image quality is just absolutely superb, especially paired with some of the cool features in this. But if you want to look at those videos that I've already made previously, and if you haven't seen those, obviously click on those. I've got a whole folder full of videos with this one, and still more to come as well, so be sure to subscribe. But overall, this does, have its cons, but obviously a massive amount of pros. You just have to be aware of that. But thanks for watching, guys, and if you are still here, you guys are legends, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, let's get it.